Good morning, or good whenever you are, those of you watching from afar. I want to welcome you now to this place, this old place of comfort and challenge, to this place where the deep concerns of the heart may be recognized and laid openly before that which we conceive of as the highest reality. Welcome in this time of change and turmoil, or as it may be, joy and celebration. Welcome, as always, to the seat of that one unchanging reality, where sorrows are transmuted into understanding and where love has both its source and its ultimate destination. So let us light the candle and symbolically put it in the front window of this, our spiritual home, to cast a small portion of light onto the streets that so need it now. Because our chalice is also a beacon that says, welcome to you all. Welcome home. Now, Bill and I chose some hymns at the absolute last minute, and so they're not on the board up there. But let's start, shall we, with number 24. I think it's called Come Strong God and Walk Beside Us. Purple book. Oh, I'm wrong about that. 22 maybe. 22, yeah. 22, number 22. Steps read you now something written by Dana Warsop, who I believe is a Unitarian Universalist minister. Often people say that they love coming to a place with so many like-minded people. I know just what they're getting at, and I know that they aren't getting it quite right. I don't want to be with a bunch of people who think just like me. I want to be in a beloved community where I don't have to think like everyone else to be loved, to be eligible for salvation. I want to be with people who value compassion, justice, love, and truth, though they may have different thoughts and opinions about all sorts of things. I want to be with independent-minded people of good heart. I want to be with people who have many names and no name at all for God. I want to be with people who see me in my goodness and dignity, who also see my failings and foibles, and who still love me. I want to be with people who feel their interconnection with all existence and let it guide their footfalls upon the earth. I want to be with people who see life as a paradox and don't always rush to resolve it. I want to be with people who are willing to walk the tightrope that is life and who will hold my hand as I walk mine. I want to be with people who let church call them into a different way of being in the world. I want to be with people who inspire one another to follow the call of the Spirit. I want to be with people who give of themselves, who share their hearts and minds and gifts. I want to be with people who know that human community is often warm and generous, sometimes challenging, and almost always a grand adventure. In other words, I want to be with people like you. Would you like to sing a song along? Here you go.
was kissed and the world stood still. Then your finger touched my silent heart and taught it how to sing. Yes, true love's the many splendid thing. True love's the many splendid thing.
Thank you. Well, why have we all come this morning? That's a serious question, but I don't expect a verbal answer. Something you might think about, because we may now be turning to the real reason that we have come. So let's relax our bodies and let's relax our minds even more as we turn once again toward the source of all meaning. Let us give way to the overwhelming need of our hearts to find in this moment a prompting of the divine. And let us all relax into the knowledge that what we seek is truly already before us. And so let us regard our eyes as tools by which to penetrate beneath the surface of appearances to the all too infrequent glimpses of the real. Let us open the invisible lids of prejudice, self-interest, and self-deception so that we can see clearly. Let us regard our ears as tools for hearing the truth as it is whispered between the small songs and diversions of the day. Let us open them to hear the never-absent murmurings of that love that surrounds us all. And let us regard our minds as treasure houses of truth, and with the faith of good stewards, remove the litter of slogans and lies and half-truths. Let us leave them open, unswerving, and ready to fill with fresh resources of understanding. And let us regard the quiet of this moment as the act of coming home as we move now together where we so often go, this time in readiness to receive its bounty, the good silence. Now may the words of our lips be good and true, and may we speak with bright confidence and deepening love as we say, so be it. Inshallah, Shalom. Amen. I think we'll sing a little prayer now, number 148. Because it's short, let's sing it twice. It's one we know well, Spirit of Life, Purple Book. I had a nice, juicy sermon all lined up for today. Had it by Tuesday, actually. And then, as always, life intervened. Friday morning, as I was setting out breakfast tea, I tripped on a loose carpet and fell over, landed on my back. There wasn't a lot of damage done, at least I hope not. But my lower back is still stiff and sore. It's very instructive, this. And I rarely make a stupid misstep. So it was a kind of a face reality moment. And I love watching those videos on YouTube of cats missing their leap as they jump and falling and stuff like that. And I think it's just incredibly hilarious watching somebody slip on a banana peel. It's true until it happens to you. But I'm an optimist. One definition of an optimist goes like this: falling from a 20-story building toward the pavement below, a man was heard to say as he passed a 10th-story window, "So far, so good." Like all really good humor, it's funny because it contains the seeds of painful reality. As the reading suggests, we're all falling, have been since the moment of our birth. One way to look at life would say that it's the crucial fact of our existence, and that learning to fall is what we must all do. And maybe that's why we've come this morning, in a sense, to learn from each other how to fall. I once read an article by a Unitarian Universalist minister called Philip Simmons, who had been diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, which is a terminal illness and gradually robs you of all muscle control. He was a fit mountaineer before he got it, and he wound up in his own driveway with his 7-year-old son, who must have been traumatized, trying to help him to his feet. As you can imagine, a writer facing imminent death has got a lot to tell us. For me, it sparked off a series of reflections that I want to share with you. Maybe it will do the same for you. Simmons invokes that lovely Zen parable. You may know the one I mean. A man is running away from a tiger, comes to a cliff, slips over the edge, reaches out, and just manages to grab hold of a root. Below him is a drop of 200 feet to rocks. Above him is a tiger. Just then he notices that growing out of the surface of the cliff is a wild strawberry. So he reaches over and he plucks the strawberry, eats it, and says, "How sweet. Ah, how sweet." That would take a lot of something, wouldn't it? Is it heroic? It's hard to imagine enjoying the flavor of the fruit in that situation, but as Zen masters and Philip Simmons would have us know, that's pretty much exactly where we are. Think about it. We can't climb back to where we began. The tigers have made sure of that. We can't fly. There's no soft landing for us down below. All we can do is hang, enjoying the sweetness of the moment until sooner or later we get tired, lose our grip, and fall. One conclusion sticks out as clearly as the strawberry. We might as well learn to fall, since sooner or later we'll have to. We've been falling all our lives. Anybody who spends time around a human baby will be aware of this. Think about it. Think back to your own babies. The chief concern for the parent is keeping the baby from falling over and hurting itself. When we begin to walk, we tumble constantly. It's our chubby elasticity of our bodies that protects us, that we might well bump our little heads and cry. Well, physiologists tell us that walking is actually falling. You have to forfeit balance and you have to lean forward in order to get momentum. One of the problems here is experience. You don't have the crazy jumble of sensory images all sorted out yet. Another one is trust, believing that if you put a leg out in front of you, that it will keep you off the carpet. When people get old, the problem reemerges. Some years ago, when I was a bit younger myself, I was helping to deal at long distance with my elderly mother. At that point, she could still drive, still cook, still pay her bills. But her one great fear was that of falling. She had already broken her hip once and knew only too well what could happen. And I can't help but feel that in her case, the fear is not just actual, but also metaphorical, a metaphorical fall. We don't for long contemplate our own deaths because that's just too painful and silly. But falling is an old threat, perhaps our earliest threat. Perhaps it's our last. It happens to be death symbolized. Falling, we speak of falling warriors, falling governments like we might very well have now, falling economies, and we use the word for any set of circumstances that means something outside our control. We fall ill, we fall in love, and in that uniquely British usage that always makes Americans chuckle, we fall pregnant. In fact, the word is a synonym for less for loss of control, and it's just that control, we think, that's made our lives bearable in the first place. The impatience of the young and the frustration of the old are agreed on this. Controlling one's life is perhaps the greatest desire we've got, and losing that is feared above everything else. But we might as well ask the guy hanging there off the cliff, the guy that ate the strawberry, is that control real? Isn't any sense that we're in charge of things really in charge just a kind of temporary illusion? Haven't we, like Simmons says, been falling all our lives? Okay, let's add a few characters now to our little strawberry story. Let's take a humanist. A humanist might say the real story is the appreciation of the moment and that strawberries taste sweeter for the fleeting nature of the experience. Good man. Or someone else, let's say somebody from the Zen or the Taoist persuasion who might remind us that the full experience of the moment, the eternal now as it's often called, is the very doorway to eternity. There isn't any time but the present. One of our Christian friends might spend his time looking around for a passing angel or two to carry him safely away beyond all problems of this sort. A scientific idealist might consider ways of weaving rope ladders from strawberry stems. A stoic might spend his time philosophizing his way into calm, and any of us might be any of these at various times. And I would say probably will. Well, Simmons avoids giving us good advice about how to handle that, because that's something we all have to learn. He's more acutely aware than most of us of the feelings of that cliff-hanging guy. He declines to leave us comforting words about appreciating life while it's here, and that Unitarian slogan that has been around for so long and I'm fed up with it. Unitarians believe in life before death. It's nice, it's cute. How does it help you if you're hanging off a cliff by a strawberry stem? He's got Lou Gehrig's disease. So instead, he gets right to the heart of the matter and asks this question: is life a problem or is it a mystery? Hanging from a cliff might be a problem capable of solution. In reality, we would doubtless see it as that. At the very least, we'd yell for help. If you want to yell now, you can. Go ahead. It's just us people here. Help! But our metaphorical cliff is different. It has about it a kind of absolute quality that doesn't really lead us in the direction of solutions. It is, in fact, a mystery. How did we get here? From where have we fallen, and to what will we fall? Who's in charge here? And because it's a mystery, not a problem, there are no answers. What seems to be needed is a certain quality of patience with not knowing. I'll even say, if possible, a joyous agreement with the situation, and to do that is one thing you have to do. You have to turn falling into leaping. It was Soren Kierkegaard, the Christian existentialist philosopher, who coined that famous term, taking the leap of faith. In his view, the existence of God could never be proven, nor could it be disproven. It's one of those things that don't lend themselves to proof any more than does, say, the existence of love. To get a grip on meaning requires not the confidence of proof, but the confidence of faith. But faith doesn't come to the patient. Maybe we'll fall forever. Faith requires a leap, not a misstep. Well, in case you wondered, I'm not suggesting that the guy hanging onto that root should just let go and fall. That doesn't feel right either. Time and circumstance will loosen his grip. His being there is important, and after all, isn't this the point of being put well and truly into the emergency that we call life? Life as mystery and emergency. The leap of faith has to do with trusting the mystery of life more than the anticipation of rescue from circumstances. Faith won't produce a helicopter, probably, or a parachute when you want it. Faith offers a chance to feel at home in the mystery rather than merely confounded by it, to find in it a sense of rightness, that no, things aren't messed up, they are important the way they are. And I'd like to add this: that when we were babies, we were learning to trust. We trusted that if we fell, somebody would reach down and pick us up again. We trusted gravity to always act the same. We began to trust our legs to carry us, but we were always falling. And it was in falling that we ultimately became who it is that we are. I can't see any reason why that process shouldn't continue through our lives. And maybe, just maybe, beyond. The lessons of falling haven't ended for us quite yet. Maybe we just seem to be still. Maybe we just seem to be in this room and the room is still and the ground is solid. But maybe in truth we're all in free fall. We are, after all, spinning at the rate of 1,000 miles an hour, traveling at an unknown speed through trackless, infinite space. Sometimes we look around and see one of us hurtling to earth, and our impulse is to reach out and catch them. This would be right if we had some place to put them that wasn't falling as well. But it's necessary to fall. Without it, we can't learn what we need. And maybe they haven't fallen at all. Maybe they're leaping. So as we go on building a personal storehouse of trust, maybe we should simply try to understand that we were born falling, that falling is our home, and that leaping is our soul's response. My hope for us is that we can all leap together. 1, 2, 3, go. In trust, in confidence, and joy. So, say Geronimo. Don't fret about the ripcord. Amen. Thanks, Will. You play real nice, doesn't he? Yeah. I got a card from Fergus O'Connor. We probably know him. He's a very active minister in the London district of Unitarians. And it's the strangest writing, almost looks like mirror writing. But I was able to decipher it. And he told us, because he was collecting money for the Red Cross Memorial Appeal in the name of Reverend Steve Dick, our friend and colleague who died just over a year ago. And he's written to say, and I think, David, we gave some money, and I think the LDPA gave some money, but anyway, they raised £1,938 to go in his name as a donation to the Memorial Fund. Fergus is one of these guys who really genuinely worries about other people, spends a lot of his time trying to help out, and little furry things as well. He's got a big heart, Fergus, so thank you. People are still watching us in large numbers, although last week we only had 24 clicks, but I think that's because it's famously the worst week of the year. I mean, sometimes we've had 56 people watching, it just depends on the moment. And that's more people than we ever managed to cram in here back when it was all a real-time service. Now, what should I announce? Anything?
The builder is coming tomorrow.
Wait.
To start work. Yeah, he's starting work doing the repairs to the brickwork and the further work to the guttering. He's already done some.
Oh, good.
And he was going to come last week, but he fell ill, and so did his colleagues, so they couldn't do any work last week. He's coming tomorrow to make a start, and he's going to be pulling the bookcase away from the wall, I think, and scraping the wall down, so it's going to be a little bit of a building site over in the corner there, but it will be better when he's finished, because the wall will be dried out and sealed and redecorated, and the brickwork outside will be safe from the drainage from the roof. So good job.
Good. If you couldn't hear out there in cyberspace, it was Lowell was saying that the builder is coming to repair the damage to the wall behind the bookcase in our what is it, our cafe out there. It used to be called the vestibule, but now it's just so obviously a cafe that someone came in and asked for a cappuccino one morning.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
exactly what happened.
Yeah, it's a really nice cafe.
Very, very welcoming. Yeah. Can I tell a little story?
If you come over to the microphone.
I'll tell you this story because when Art was talking about falling, when Art was talking about falling, it made me think of a little story I know about this man who's a businessman. He's quite well off and everything, but he's not a ragingly very, very wealthy man, but he's got his own little aeroplane, and he's flying off to a business meeting somewhere. Nice weather, a bit cloudy, but everything's going fine, plane's going nicely, and he's flying off. He's at thousands of feet in the air, and he's got his paperwork there and everything, and he's happy. But then the engine stops. And he's not worried, because it does sometimes stall. It's only an engine. He presses the starter button, but it doesn't restart the engine. And so he's getting a little bit concerned. And in the end, he thinks, well, I'll have to bail out. Because I'm going down slowly, and the engine isn't going to start. It's just not. I'm having no success. So he jumps out of the aeroplane with his parachute on, and he pulls the cord, and the parachute doesn't open. So he is a bit nervous now, and he's going down through the clouds. And so he can't see anything when he's pulling the thing, and it's not happening and stuff. And suddenly he breaks through the clouds. He's still thousands of feet in the air, but he breaks through the clouds, and he sees the earth below coming up towards him slowly. And it's fantastic. It's all trees and fields and roads, and it's wonderful to look at. It's really, enchanting. And he's looking at it in amazement. And all of a sudden he sees a little something happening. And it's getting bigger and bigger. And he sees in the end, it's a man. It's a man coming up through the air towards him, waving his arms and legs about. He can't believe it. Anyway, this man comes really close to him and he shouts out to him, "Hey," he said, "do you know anything about parachutes?" And this man shouts back, "No." He said, "Do you know anything about gas cookers?"
Thank you. I noticed you said the builder fell ill as well. Yes. Let's sing. What are we going to sing? Oh, we're going to sing that lovely Sursum Corda, number 195 in the Purple Book. And what's the name they give it there?
We Sing a Love.
We Sing a Love, number 195. Sets all people free. That love's like wind that burns like scorching flame. It folds the earth, springs up like water clear. The living love within our house today. We sing a love that seeks to others good, that loves to serve and not to count the cost, a love that yielding finds itself made new, a caring love within our hearts today. We sing a love unflinching, unafraid, to be itself despite another's wrath, a love that stands alone and undismayed, come strengthening love within our hearts today. We sing a love that wandering will not rest, until it finds its way, its home, its source, to joy and sadness resting unrefreshed, a living love within our hearts today. We sing the Holy Spirit full of love, who seeks and smells of ancient bitterness, brings to our wounds the healing grace of Christ, a radiant love within our hearts today. Just as we've gathered, we now drift apart. But there may be a stirring of something within us that prompts us to greater understanding. So in the days ahead, let us try to nurture that which really matters. In that spirit, let us also know that the path, though feeling sometimes lonely, is never made alone. For this and for many reasons, let us continue to look after one another, because we know we can, until we meet again. Amen.